Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I never thought a single evening could change everything. But here I am, sitting on the edge of a bed that feels emptier than it ever has, replaying the events in my mind like a film I can't pause. My name is Ethan, 38, and I've been married to Sophie for 12 years. We had what most people would call a good marriage, stable, predictable, even comfortable. But comfort isn't love, not really. And that night at the Wilsons' wedding, the illusion shattered completely. Sophie had been excited about that wedding for weeks. She had spent hours picking the perfect dress, debating shoes, and talking endlessly about the food and the people she'd see. I played along, smiled, and nodded, even though I had a sinking feeling I wouldn't be happy there. Weddings, I've realized, have a way of showing you what you're missing, or what's already gone. The ceremony itself was beautiful. I watched Sophie laugh and dance, her hair bouncing, her smile wide. But there was something in the way she interacted with Derek, a man I only vaguely knew from work. He wasn't charming or particularly handsome, but there was a spark, a kind of intimacy that made my chest tighten in ways I didn't expect. I pushed the feeling aside, told myself I was overthinking it, that it was nothing. We returned home late that night. Sophie seemed distant, quieter than usual, though I brushed it off. I thought maybe she was just tired. But the next morning, over coffee, she dropped the words I'd feared but never imagined I'd hear. I don't feel it anymore, Ethan. Not with you. I've lost all desire, she said, staring at the table, her hands wrapped around the mug like a lifeline. It wasn't anger that hit me first. It was disbelief. Then an overwhelming wave of clarity washed over me. I realized that love, the kind that makes you feel alive, had been quietly dying in our home for months, maybe years. The small touches, the affectionate glances, the late-night conversations, all gone, replaced by polite distance and unspoken resentment. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of every wasted effort. Every quiet night, I had spent hoping things would get better. I understand, I said. My voice was calm, but inside, it felt like the floor beneath me had collapsed. For a moment, silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. I wanted to leave, not in anger, but in self-preservation. I wanted to reclaim some fragment of the dignity I had lost over the years of trying to nurture something that no longer existed. I packed a small bag, just essentials, and walked toward the door. Sophie didn't look up, didn't question, didn't stop me. The house felt colder than it had in years, each room echoing with the absence of warmth and familiarity. I stepped into my car and drove aimlessly, letting the night take me wherever it wanted. That's when it happened. Just as I was settling into the first semblance of peace, since hearing her words, a familiar voice called my name. Ethan, wait! I froze. The voice belonged to Lila, Sophie's best friend. She was running toward my car, hair tousled, a coat half-buttoned, eyes wide with urgency. She stopped a few feet away, hands on her knees as she tried to catch her breath. What is it? I asked cautiously, my hand still on the steering wheel. It's Sophie, she panted, her voice trembling. She's not being honest. You need to know. Her words stopped abruptly, as if she realized she had said too much. I looked at her, puzzled, wary. Part of me wanted to drive away, to leave all of it behind and never look back. But another part, the part that had spent 12 years loving Sophie despite everything, couldn't just walk away from whatever truth was about to come out. Tell me. I said finally, my voice low, controlled. Lila hesitated, glancing around as if the night itself were listening, before stepping closer. It's not just that she's lost desire. Ethan, The words didn't come out at first. She shook her head, frustration and fear etched into her face. I felt my pulse quicken. Whatever she was about to reveal, I knew it would change everything. A deep dread settled over me. My mind raced, trying to anticipate the truth, but the fear of the unknown was far worse than anything I could imagine. Every instinct screamed at me to stop, to turn the key and drive away, to forget this conversation even started. Yet I couldn't. Not when Lila was standing there, clearly desperate for me to understand something I wasn't ready for but needed to hear. She took a shaky breath, looked me directly in the eyes, and said the words that would make me question everything I thought I knew about my wife, my marriage, and my life. "She's seeing someone else," Lila finally blurted, her voice barely above a whisper, but it struck me like a thunderclap. I froze, gripping the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles turning white. The night around us felt suddenly oppressive, as if the air itself had thickened. "What do you mean, someone else?" I asked, though a part of me already dreaded the answer. "She didn't just lose desire, Ethan," Lila said, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "She's involved. With someone from the wedding. I didn't want to tell you, but you need to know before you make any decisions." Everything I thought I knew about Sophie, her laughter, her smiles, her quiet tenderness, shattered instantly. The mental picture of the woman I had loved for 12 years crumbled like sand through my fingers. Betrayal tasted bitter, sharp, and metallic in my mouth. I didn't speak for a long moment. My chest ached, a heavy, suffocating weight pressing down on me. Part of me wanted to scream, to confront her immediately, to demand answers. Another part, the rational, exhausted part that had been living in denial for months, knew it was already too late for that. The trust had been gone long before, quietly eroded by nights like this one, by moments I hadn't even recognized as warning signs. I need to think," I finally said, my voice hoarse, trembling with controlled fury. Lila nodded, biting her lip. "I get it, but Ethan, whatever you do, don't react out of anger. She's counting on that. You need to be smart." I watched her walk away, her coat flapping the cold night air, leaving me alone with the realization that everything I had invested, every late night, every sacrifice, every ounce of love, had been funneled into a marriage that no longer existed. The next morning, I returned home, my mind clearer but my heart heavier than ever. Sophie was asleep when I entered. I stood in the doorway for a long moment, taking in the life we had built. The quiet kitchen, the framed wedding photo that now felt like a relic from another lifetime, the messy stack of bills and mail that suddenly seemed meaningless. I didn't wake her. I didn't yell, didn't slam doors, didn't plead. I packed the rest of my things into a duffel bag. Clothes, documents, a few personal items I had managed to grab the night before. I left a note on the counter, simple and cold. "I tried. You stopped trying. I'm done." I walked out without looking back. Each step toward my car felt like shedding a layer of old skin, a quiet liberation from years of denial and hope that had bound me. Over the next few days, the legal process began. I contacted a lawyer, gathered documents, and ensured that I protected myself financially. Sophie's attempts to explain, to rationalize, to plead, were all filtered through emails and texts, her tone increasingly defensive. It didn't matter. I had already made peace with the reality. The marriage had ended the moment she chose someone else over me. The betrayal cut deep, but the clarity it brought was sharper. I realized how much I had allowed fear, loyalty, and societal expectations to dictate my decisions. I had sacrificed my own emotional well-being to maintain an illusion. Now I was free to rebuild, free to reclaim, free to feel again without compromise. Weeks later, I ran into Lila at a coffee shop. She looked at me and smiled faintly. "I was scared for you," she admitted. "I didn't know how you'd react." I nodded, sipping my coffee. I didn't react like I thought I would. "But you were right. Anger wouldn't have solved anything. Clarity did." She studied me quietly, then said almost softly, "She's devastated, you know." I smirked, a bitter edge to it. "I'm not anymore. What's shocking is how blind I was for so long, how much I ignored the signs because I didn't want to admit the truth." Months passed. Sophie moved out, started a new life with a man from the wedding. I stayed in the house, alone but not lonely. The silence, once oppressive, became comforting. I reclaimed my space, my routines, and slowly my heart. I learned that love doesn't require self-destruction, that sometimes letting go is the bravest act of all. And then one evening, I found myself smiling genuinely at something trivial, a joke on TV, The sound of rain on the windows, a text from a friend. For the first time in years, I felt the spark of life, untethered from obligation, betrayal, or disappointment. I realized that losing Sophie hadn't destroyed me. It had freed me. The final twist? The man she had chosen? He wasn't what she thought. Their perfect romance quickly unraveled under the weight of reality, his flaws magnified by the idealized version she had built in her mind. I watched from a distance, neither with glee nor with bitterness, simply observing the truth unfold. The lesson was mine, lived and learned. Sometimes, the person you lose isn't the one who walked away. It's the version of yourself you've been neglecting all along. By the end, I had not only survived, but emerged stronger, wiser, and more certain of what I deserved. I had walked away from a life that no longer belonged to me, and in doing so, I found the freedom to live fully again, unshackled, unafraid, and unbroken.